Hi you all. So I am doing this video as a response to One Degree from Me's The Modern Day Matchmaker Episode 1, Why He Didn't Call You Back. So basically, One Degree from Me is a matchmaker. And he did this video to let women know why men don't call them back after the first date. So the reasoning that he stated women don't get a call back is due to bossy lady syndrome. And he gave 4 examples and stated that if a woman can answer yes to any of those scenarios, that she's done those things, then she probably has this syndrome. Okay. The first example was a woman going directly to the date from work without changing. Okay, I feel that has absolutely nothing to do with bossiness. I feel that has to do with time management. And I mean, basically, if the date is during the week and it's an earlier date, say the date is at 6 and she gets off at 5. Well, I mean, in order to be on time, she may have to go straight to the date from work and not change clothes. That has absolutely nothing to do with bossiness, in my opinion. That has to do with being conscious of time. Okay, the second example he gave was if you're on a date and a man describes you as independent or challenging. Challenging is one thing, but being independent, I don't think that has anything to do with being bossy. I think that has everything to do with survival. Women have to be independent in many cases because that's just the way it is in these times. Now, if you're single, you're going to be independent, hopefully, because that means that you're single and being able to live on your own. If you have a man in your life or you're married, then of course you're codependent. But if you don't have a man, then yeah, you're going to be independent. So that's kind of like, okay. The third one was that if on the date they're having a debate or heavy discussion, whether it's about politics or whatever, and then after the date the woman says to herself, oh, well, I won every argument. That has nothing to do with being bossy. That has to do with being a sore loser or feeling that you have to win or always be right. Like, that's what that is. To me, that's not being bossy. That's just having to be right all the time. And the last one was if a woman is like, oh, it'd be nice if I had a man, but I don't need a man. Okay, that's not bossiness. That is reality. Women don't need men. Not in 2011. Now, back in the day when women, weren't working and weren't allowed to do certain jobs, they needed men. Yes, but it's not like that anymore. Now, more women graduate from college than men. So women are doing the dang on thing and are able to make a living for themselves or make a life for themselves without a man. So no, women don't need a man. I don't know any women personally who died because they didn't have a man. It's not a need. It is a want for many, but it's not a need at all. And that has nothing to do with being bossy. That has to do with being realistic. Okay, so he gave 3 tips to how women can be anti-bossy. Okay, and the first tip was to do anti-boss things. And the example he gave as an anti-boss thing was to cook for the man on the second or third date at her home. No, that is not safe. A single woman, especially a single woman who lives alone, inviting a man to her home to cook for him on a second or third day date is not safe. Okay, in my opinion, when you first start dating someone, you need to meet in public places. And going to someone's house is not a date. It's going to somebody's house. That's not a date. So you need to stick with parks, restaurants, bowling alleys, whatever. Those need to be the type things that you do on the first few dates. Not inviting someone over to cook. Because if the man is a pervert, okay, or a possible rapist, whatever, and you invite him into your home, I mean, that just opens up a whole can of worms that would not have been opened up if you were in public. You have to be smart, and that's just not something that I feel a woman should do. Cooking for a man is something that comes later. I do not think that should be a common practice for first few dates. The second tip was bring your feminine A game. Take jeans off, wear sexy dress. Okay, now I agree with being feminine. Many men really like feminine women. Okay, so yes, turn up your femininity factor. Wearing a sexy dress, I'm kind of about that. I do typically suggest wearing a nice dress on a date. Not necessarily sexy, okay, but nice. Also, jeans can be nice on a date. Like jeans and a nice little fitted blazer and some heels, that's a nice date outfit. I think when women do the sexy dress, especially if there's cleavage and things of that nature, I think it kind of takes away the attention from her as a person and puts the attention on her body. And I feel that shouldn't be done in the beginning stages. And it also kind of contradicts something that he says in the video, and I'll get to that in a little bit. The last tip that he gave was to date non-bossy men if you're a bossy woman. Okay. Yes, that makes sense, because if people are too similar, then typically they butt heads. You have to kind of have someone who complements you. And, I do feel that if both people are bossy and both people want to have their way all the time and want the other person to always do what they want them to do, then yes, it's going to cause friction. And so if a person is very dominant, then they typically need to be with someone who is less dominant, who's a little more passive. But there are situations where, women may want the challenge. They may want a man to come in and kind of, throw her around and let her know, all right, I'm the man, and kind of tone her down a little bit. Some women want that, or may need that to kind of calm down. But in a lot of cases, if a woman is satisfied being dominant and being the boss and having the man pretty much do what she wants him to do, then she would need to be with a man who will allow that and who has a personality that will allow for her to wear the pants and whatever. Okay, but he also mentioned at the end of the video that women, you will be stereotyped on the first few dates. Okay, well, men are stereotyped too on the first few dates. So, but this goes back to me saying this was kind of contradicting, because if he says women, you will be stereotyped on your first few dates, then why should the woman wear a sexy dress? If he's going to stereotype her, and she walks in with a little sexy skimpy dress on, isn't that going to be the stereotype? Oh, okay, she's going to be easy, or she's easy, she's a floozy, whatever. She got her boobs out, butt showing, whatever. If you're going to stereotype, then why even set yourself up for being stereotyped by wearing revealing clothing on the first date? That doesn't make sense to me. I feel that there are lots of things that women can wear that give off, a little sexy, but it's not revealing, you know? And if people are gonna have first impressions, which they will, that's just life, why do you want it to be based on you being scantily clad? No. So again, the second tip about wearing a sexy dress contradicts being stereotyped, unless you want to be stereotyped as, someone who's going to be easy. So I disagree, with a lot of things that he said. And I feel that the reason why women typically don't, or even men, because a lot of times the men don't get a response after the first date. I've done that plenty of times, gone on dates, and afterwards the guy calls me or texts me or whatever, and I ignore him because I wasn't interested. And I think the main reason for that is lack of chemistry, because chemistry is so powerful. And if you don't have it, you pretty much know soon. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, for a woman or a man to sit and try to rack their brain on what they did wrong or what they could do differently, if it's a matter of chemistry, there's nothing you did wrong or nothing you could have done differently. It's just that you did not have that connection. And that's just the way it is. So I don't think that it's necessarily that the woman is being bossy or whatever. I think there are a lot of other factors that lead to why men don't call the woman back. And I don't think being bossy is a high factor. It may be, a factor for some, because there are some women who are bossy. But the examples that he gave of bossiness weren't good examples, in my opinion. I felt that those things weren't really being bossy. So if he could have come with some better examples, maybe I would have been able to kind of see his point of view a little better. But with those examples, I was like, no, that's not even bossy. So, yeah, I think it's chemistry. I think it may be just personality clashes, and not necessarily bossiness, but just, because when you're on a date, you discuss things. And there are some things that people may say on the date where okay, I don't think this is going to work. And, like, I went on a date once, and the guy was 30, and he was basically, he had a job, but it wasn't really a career, and he was kind of wanted to do other things and had like the credentials to do those things, but never followed through with trying to get that type of a position or whatever. So basically, he was not motivated. Okay, and that's a problem for me. Like, I am not interested in men who lack motivation or drive. Like, that's a problem. So I knew that was not going to be a good match. And those type things come out with conversation. So sometimes, just things that are said, you're kind of like, this is not going to work. Or, a person's behavior on the date. Like, I have a coworker, for example, who chews with her mouth open. And I'm sure she does it on dates because she does it all the time. And, me being the direct person that I am, I've told her, like, or asked her to, like, chew with her mouth closed, because it's loud and it's nasty. Like, no one wants to see your food. And, it's just terrible etiquette. And, kids shouldn't even do it because they should be taught better. But if you're almost 40 years old or whatever, you have no business chewing with your mouth open. So, like, if somebody comes on a date and is chewing with their mouth open, smacking, or, what, that may be a turnoff. There are a multitude of things that can occur on a date that turns a person off. And I just think a woman being bossy is not, like, a big factor in not getting called back. So that's my take. You all post your comments so we can have a little discussion. All right, see you later. Peace.